Hey folks, it's Mike. Happy Friday. Um, I wanted to start off by basically thanking the few people. I did ask for feedback, I believe it was the day before yesterday, on what, for the most part, is the biggest thing that weighs on people's minds. I guess you could say like a worry or something that tends to stay in the forefront of people's minds every day that either gets in the way or prevents them from being happy, so to speak. And like I had said before, any feedback at all, I would appreciate. I mean, good, bad. I'm not going to take offense to anything. It just would help with where I intend to go with this and exactly how I intend to go about doing these videos. But again, like I prefaced all the others, I don't claim to be any sort of guru or know everything or know it all. Or I'm just speaking from my own life experience, my own life lessons, things that I've learned to do, what not to do, as I said, from having a disorder of my own with the anxiety to every, issues that everybody deals with, like divorce and death and coming out and all that. That's the intention of all of these videos, is to, if I can help one person, if it's just one person that doesn't have that outlet, then that's worth then it's worth every video and every word that I've put out there. So that's my intention. But as I said the day before yesterday, I'd asked what people's biggest concern was, basically in their everyday life, things that weighed on their mind. I got a few responses, not a lot, but it was basically the same answers. Finances, worry, and exhaustion and kids were basically, it seemed to be like the common thread. Although, like I said, there weren't a lot of responses, but when you think about it, I think we're all human. We all worry. Those are all just a given. Finances, I don't have any children, but being an adult now and seeing my brothers that have kids, and now having a new appreciation for my mother and raising 4 boys especially when she did. And I mean, it's even harder in today's world because you want to make sure that you raise somebody that's socially inept and not inept, I'm sorry, socially prepared and to deal with the world we live in today, because it's so different from when our parents raised us. Well, raised me at my age. I'm 43. So it's a different world. And again, another reason why I choose to make these videos, because I think there's a lot of unhappiness out there. And anybody, if you can spread or inject any sort of happiness or goodness back out into the world in any way, shape, or form, do it. Why wouldn't you do it? And for some reason or another, like I've said, also as I've said before, lately, past month or so, it was just like a light bulb went off. And I thought to myself, come through so much and learned so much. I've read a lot. Looked up to a lot of people. I've listened to a lot of people. There's a lot of self-improvement we all can do. And we learn every day. I mean, every day is new. So, as far as finances and exhaustion and worry, I think everybody on a daily basis to some extent worries. But to take it to the extent of worry and exhaustion and all that is inevitable. The misery that it causes and the unhappiness that it causes is totally optional. Because you can worry about tomorrow, or worry about next week, or worry about 5 years from now, but that thing that you worried about may never happen. What's that expression? Worry is like a rocking chair. It takes you absolutely nowhere. Um, it there is no good that comes out of. You can't control tomorrow. All you control is right now. And as far as finances goes, um, in in my uh, experience, I never really had respect for a dollar. I would buy things to impress people that I really didn't like when it came down to it, or vice versa, didn't like me. So I didn't have any respect for a dollar. And again, a lot of you that have children, that becomes your main focus. I could see worrying, oh well, I have to make sure I have enough money for them. You know, kids, parenting, children, every family is different. Every family dynamic is different. Mothering and fathering is different for everybody. Everybody's children are different. Uh, Life circumstances are different. But the bottom line, I think, in every family and every mom and dad is just to make sure that your daughter or your son or your children know you're there for them. You'll always be there for them. That will never change. That you love them, to reassure them and to encourage them. And that's another thing a lot of people don't have is encouragement. And that I think has to do with directly has to do with. Um, Sorry, I just got a message here. Directly has to do with you surround yourself with garbage and you start to stink. But you have to. There comes a point, I think, where, and I think that's where people will get it. You'll get People get exhausted and worry, and I know I did. I was constantly worried about what other people thought, including members of my own family. But there comes a point as you get older, and again, as I've gotten older and learned, and just got sick and tired of feeling less than, and and believing and knowing that I'm not. Because you always have to have that mindset. I can and I will, no matter what. Whether you're a single mother, whatever your unique situation is, deal with today. Because worrying about tomorrow is a complete waste of time. Because tomorrow, first of all, might not come. What you're worrying about might not come tomorrow. And again, with the anxiety, going back to that, not to be repetitive, but I used to worry death, getting sick, all that. When you think about about finances, when you think of the worst case scenario, usually, and allow yourself to go there and think about that, especially if you have children. Because when I imagine, and I think, and I've seen when people have children, they worry more about finance, they worry more about everything. But usually the worst case scenario isn't as bad as you might think. And a lot of the time, the worst case scenario will never happen. So if you take it day to day and have respect for money that you do have, which, like I said, up until very recently, I really didn't respect money because that directly correlates with who you are as a person and how much you value yourself. Because if you're constantly trying to add value to yourself by monetary shit, you're never going to get anywhere because you're still trying to impress people that could give two shits about what you think, what you look like, what you dress like, what you're wearing. You know, the the best um, I did get a quote for this because, like I said, I asked people particularly what they were concerned with. But as far as the bipolar issue goes, that's a little more serious. I myself am not bipolar. I know people who are. But again, that's a disorder, and a disorder is not a decision. My anxiety is not a panic disorder. It's not a decision. Illness is not, whether it be a physical disorder or disability or mental, it's not a decision. So what you have to do is treat it. Bipolar, I mean, you go to a doctor, obviously, you take medication. like I said, I love reading self-help books and stuff to improve. You can never stop improving on being a good human being. And like I said, if you're not authentically and truly, naturally a kind person, I think kindness just should be a given. And unfortunately, to a lot of people, it's not. But if you're dwelling every day on what if this happens, what if that happens, you're missing out on your kids. You're missing out on happy times. You're missing out on people forget how to laugh, forget how to smile, forget how to breathe, forget how to just be, just to enjoy the day for what it is, because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. And then, they also have, as I did, well, I imagine other people do, like, for instance, someone had mentioned that they deal with bipolar issues, bipolar disorder. You can't make that who you are. You can't make it your identity. It's it's a part of who you are. Sorry, Google popped up. It's a part of who you are, but it's not who you are. It's not what you are. You don't identify. It's not your. In other words, it's as plain as saying your name. People tend to. There was a time with my anxiety, I thought I identified as just somebody who had anxiety, and I'd suffer infinitely and constantly be an anxious mess with nothing to offer. Well, of course, with therapy and the proper channels and stuff, every disorder can be controlled, and you have to own it and not be ashamed of it. That's the main thing, because so many people, millions and millions of people, struggle with all different things, and the only thing you can get by putting it out there and not necessarily telling everybody that you come across, oh, by the way, I'm bipolar. You know, I'm not saying that. I'm saying to not be ashamed of it, own it, completely own it, take care of it. Um, but also those people around you that truly care and should be around you. Again, those who you surround yourself with should always be uplifting. Um, and another saying, which I have had, that's one thing I do is tend to, if I hear a quote that directly identifies to a situation I've dealt with, it sticks in my head. And the one I think about almost daily is you have to pay close attention to those around you that clap at your happiness or your success, or don't clap, so to speak. Because if you're surrounded by, like I said before, going back to negative people um, that aren't there to uplift you and care for you, or not care for you, but be there when you need an ear, or be there when you need help, whatever the case might be, then it's time to make, especially as you get older, definitely when you get older, it's natural to, I don't want to say, you don't want to say get rid of, but let's say audit the people around you. Um, I think we all could safely say there's 6 or 7 people around us that you really have to take a step back and say, well, is this person a positive in my life or a negative? Are they going to be there at my worst? If they're there at your best and they're not there at when you're at your worst, they should have never been there to begin with. And that I had to learn the hard way. And again, in my mind, well, in my experience, sometimes you have to audit because the dynamic of your family changes as you get older and people get married or divorced, whatever the case might be. You have to even audit your family. And that's not to say it's a forever thing. It doesn't have to be forever. Family's family, but you don't have to accept anything that's subpar, so to speak, or if you, like I said, if you're authentically a kind person, and that to me, if that's not just an inherent trait in you, then you need to do some soul searching because something's not right there. Because I would think that is the should be the basis of someone's heart. It's just being kind and wanting to help, you know. Um, and um, again, being bipolar or being having an illness that you overcome, it doesn't. Or living every day with a mental illness or a physical illness or a disability, whatever the case might be across the gamut. There's so many different things. It shouldn't be your identity at all. That's not who you are. It's just a symptom of who you are, I guess you could say. It's only I used to just make that everything. And now I've just realized, and I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm just going with it, seeing where this takes me. Um, and again, this is the basically trial and error portion. But my intention is to help people. That's the bottom line with my own uh, lessons and experience. Not to repeat myself, but anyhow. So yeah, that's what I got. I asked for some feedback just so I could really. Um, this was a topic I want to speak about with some of the things that we all worry about that you don't realize. Everyone's worrying about the same thing. Your kids, finance, money. I mean, that's just a given. But again, those things are inevitable. The worry and what worry causes, the unhappiness, the dread, the feelings it brings up, are all optional. You don't have to you don't dwell on them because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. You could go to sleep and drop dead tonight. Who knows? Not to be, you know, um, downer there, but it's the truth. You could worry about something that may or may not happen in 5 years, and you spend your whole life thinking, what if, what if, what if, what if? Just think of the worst case scenario. Usually it's not that bad, and hopefully you've surrounded yourself with people that will be there no matter what. And that I had to learn the hard way because I blamed myself for a lot of the dynamic that even happened in my own family amongst my brothers. I'm not going to get too. I'm not going to get too personal here because those are issues that obviously are not to be broadcast to anyone. But as far as family dynamics go, as you get older, I noticed things that you thought would never change, and it can be shocking. But once you accept that, that doesn't necessarily mean it's forever. It could be temporary. People go through things in life and deal with them. Everybody deals with things differently. But one thing I've learned is if you change your reaction to bad things and the good things that happen, then life can only get better. Because whether you're rich, poor, black, white, whatever the case might be, your monetary wealth can go away tomorrow, but your mental health, your well-being, no matter what's going on, you have to hold on to that and kind of just feed it, like nurture it. And I guess maybe that's one thing that's intriguing to me because you can always learn something new from. I always liked self-help stuff, like I said, um, and you just can't take on negativity. You gotta, like I said, you make sure you surround yourself with people that are going to help and not hinder. And because we're all like an emotional container. Think about it that way. All the worry and the dwelling and the worrying about what other people think or lack of self confidence, all that stuff. It's almost like filling your own container with all this negativity. And somebody that a mentor of mine that I watch on occasion, I'm not going to mention at this point, but had put it in a perfect way. It's like a catheter. A catheter takes out all the toxic things that are detrimental to your health out of your body, so that you don't get an infection or get sick. Same thing with negativity and people around you that, again, aren't going to clap at your happiness or your success. Misery loves company. But negativity, surrounding yourself with negative people that aren't going to cheer for you or aren't going to be happy for you, are just going to um, make you mentally sick and keep you at a point where you can't. It's hard to move. It's harder to move forward. So when I say audit the people around you, take a good look at who you surround yourself by, because that's really who you're measured by. Um, that's not the way I necessarily do. I think that's the way it should be measured, but no. But most people will take a look at, a lot of people will take a look at the people, your friends, whatever, and lump you in or basically just put you in a mold that you're not. So that's again why I say individuality, being unique, being eccentric, whatever the case might be, is key. And just good and bad, own it. But today is good and bad, not tomorrow's, not, I see so many of my friends that, like I said, moms, I look at completely different. Mothers and people that are self-sufficient and take care of themselves in today's society, today's world, because again, it's sad to say, but we live in the world is kind of sad when you think about it today because it's so different. Everything's changed. But as an individual, you have the opportunity to make the smallest change, but the smallest change can make someone's day. Saying something nice, saying hello to strangers, smiling at strangers, different things like that might sound corny or cliche, but it's the truth. Kindness costs nothing. It's free, for Christ's sake. And a lot of people just walk around and just exist. And you can't do that. That's not the point. And again, if you have people around you that care, then that's all that matters. And in my mind, and where I've arrived at now, is what matters to me is taking what I've gone through in my life, and I believe, truly believe, and I thought about this for the past 2 days, my relationships with specific family members and friends um, for the past 10 years, my whole life really, but lately, obviously, past few years. I am not my intention is never and has never been to be a cruel person. I don't have cruelty in my heart. I'm not. I think, unfortunately, there are those people out there that just don't take into consideration other people's feelings, and that's sad. But again, if you're a kind person at heart, and I like to think that most people are, how could you hurt somebody? It's just a given that you'd be helpful in some way, and we can all do something, whether it's the smallest thing, to just improve someone's day. Anything, anything at all. And if by making these videos, what I've been through can help one person, as I said, not to be repetitive, but I am, can help one person throughout the gamut of things that I've dealt with and I've learned and continue to learn, like we all do every day in our own lives, our own problems. If I can help one person or save one person from being in that dark space that I've been in several times and pull them out of it, then all these videos are worth it. And again, this weekend is the YouTube channel, because this Facebook Live is basically like the beta test, I guess you could say. But that's it, people. So everybody have a good weekend, and thank you for the feedback again. It made the topic that I want to talk about today a little bit more interesting to myself because I did a little bit more research on it. Thought about how I dealt with certain things, which is the whole point. So have a good weekend, and again, please, if you can, good, bad, I'm not going to be offended, but any critique or feedback on any of these videos, any that I've made in the past, this one would be helpful because then I'll know exactly how it's affecting those that are watching and listening. And I appreciate everybody who's watching, and hopefully, again, it's helping. So have a good weekend, and I'll see you soon.